Hi everyone. I can just see everyone sort of joining now, so I'll just give it a minute. If you can hear me and see us, would you just somebody be able to just put a thumbs up or just comment in the chat just saying that you can hear us okay and see us, please? Brilliant. Everyone can hear us. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'll just give it another minute just in case we get some more people trying to join. I'll just give it another 30 seconds or so. I think that's probably enough time for everyone to click on. Okay, everyone, thank you for joining us and thank you for coming to our webinar today, which is going to be Louise, our lovely volunteer, who you can see on the screen as well. She'll introduce herself shortly, talking about her experience with POTS and chronic illness and hidden disability. So firstly, I just want to thank Louise for doing this for us today, giving up her time to share her experience with us. We'll sort of run it as me and Louise having a conversation about her experience, and then there will be chance at the end for any questions to be answered. So if you do think of a question as we're going along, if you could just pop it in the chat or pop it in the question and answer box, we'll address it at the end. Firstly, you will have seen the disclaimer in the waiting room, hopefully. And I just want to reiterate that today's webinar is based on Louise's own personal experience. So it may be different to everyone else's. So what may have worked for Louise or not worked for Louise may be different for everyone else. We just want to be aware of that. And please, before you do make any changes to any aspect of your care or your routines, please can you just always consult your own relevant medical professional. And finally, sorry, I've got a lot to talk about at the start and then I will get on to Louise. We really value any feedback that you can offer us about these webinars. When we end the webinar, there will be a link to a feedback survey. We'd really appreciate anything in there, any comments, any positive comments, any constructive criticism comments, because then we can help to improve these webinars in the future. But one thing that we have seen a bit of, unfortunately, is some really unfair comments in our social media channels. So we'd just always ask if you could refrain from that and give us our feedback through the survey. That would be absolutely brilliant. I think that's everything that I wanted to say. So now we'll go over to Louise. So hi Louise, if you'd just like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, as Nikki said, I'm Louise. I'll just give you a little bit about my POTS before we start our questions. But I've had POTS for probably 23 years now. Only diagnosed in 2016. When I first started POTS in 2002, 2003, I only used to pass out a few times a year. So like many of you, dismissed, told it was in my head, so learned to keep it a secret. I'd say the past 10 years is when unfortunately I contracted pneumonia, which became worse and triggered off all of my other comorbidities and ended me up in hospital and losing my job. So we come now to 10 years down the line and I'm actually living very well with POTS.
Brilliant, thank you Louise. So just to start, how has having a chronic illness affected your mental health and what coping mechanisms have you found to help during the difficult days?
Thank you, Nikki. Like I've just said, I'm sort of 20 years on. So my experience comes from someone that knows about it. You may not be as far along as on your journey as I am at the moment. So my initial stage is mental health wise, because I know POTS isn't a mental health condition. However, I feel that it does affect a lot of your life with mental health. In my initial stages, as I've already sort of picked up on, I felt like I was going mad. I felt like I did have a psychological condition. I was sent to psychiatrists who actually couldn't find the condition. So I felt embarrassed because I got told I was attention seeking. So for me, I'm like, oh my God, what do people think when I'm passing out? Well, what do people think? I was second guessing myself and worrying about if people thought that I just wanted attention and that I was putting it on. So that also meant that I hid things and pretended that was just a feint because I didn't eat. So we go through that, but within the space of a year, I'd lost my independence. I had to go and live with a friend when my POS was at its worst. I lost my job. I had to ill health retire, and so I used to work as a ward sister. The NHS would have ill health retired me 6 months before I did. I wasn't able to drive, so it like I didn't know what to do. I felt sad. I felt lonely because I still didn't know what was going on, and I didn't feel like anyone kind of like understood me. So I became an insular person, and as you all know from this webinar, I am definitely not that sort of person. So um, yeah, it made me feel sad. I'd say slightly depressed or suppressed, whichever way it is, and then sort of like losing my job was like losing my purpose. And
Yeah.
I don't know how I could have. I was sitting there thinking, well, what am I going to do? I'm in my mid-30s. I've got the rest of my life ahead of me, and I'm going to be stuck in these four walls. And also, sort of finally, on the mental health side of things, just being at home on the summer days when I couldn't even get out to the garden, my friend's house, thinking to myself, well, everyone else is living their lives. Everyone else is not bothering about me. Everyone else is doing everything. So it was just, yeah, it was just not being part. It was purpose. It was just the sadness of something that had completely changed my life 360. So you say the difficult days. So on the difficult days, when I was in hospital, I had an occupational therapist try and help me walk down the ward opposite the ward that I used to run up and down for 12 hours. And she stopped me and she said to me, look, Louise, I have a chronic condition. She said, allow yourself to have the down days. And it clicked with me and stayed with me, because even before this, I got into depression because I thought, well, I've got nothing to be sad about. So I allow myself to have the down days, but try and make it a day or a day or two so that I can get up and plan the next days. I still make plans because I have to have something to look forward to.
Yeah.
I've just got to learn to adjust them a little bit. Um, I also have a routine, so like I divide my day up so it doesn't seem so long. If I'm stuck in for the day, I'm like, oh, I might be able to do a bit of crafting for an hour, a bit of TV for an hour, a bit like a work day, because that again makes me feel positive, makes me feel like I'm actually sort of giving. I know it sounds strange, but it is.
No, it doesn't.
No, no, I thought it does, but yeah. And if I've got the energy, watch something like a comedy, something that's going to make me laugh and just take me out of how I'm feeling in that particular moment. Or a friend that doesn't necessarily need to understand, but just a friend that can make me laugh, because I do want to forget it about time to time. And sort of finally on this one, it's hard for me, and it'll be hard for you guys, but it's to not get frustrated with yourself, because that doesn't make you feel any better. And actually to be kind of like proud of myself. If I haven't been able to do something, but I've been able to get up, make a cup of tea, or go from the bedroom to the living room, then why am I not? So yeah, so I'm hoping I've answered that question okay, Nikki.
Have completely. Thank you, Louise. How have you adapted your daily life and what challenges do you face?
Right, I'm sure again most people have perhaps done this. So it's I'm very much a morning person, even so with pots, but it's reminding myself to get up slowly, have my glass of water, and start the day and take my time to eat carb, not carb heavy, carb light meals, and to sort of be a snacky person, which I do veer off. I'm going back onto that at the moment. Um, I have carers still. So my carers have to work around me. I still can't cook without passing out, and sort of washing my hair and doing a full shower doesn't work. But actually, that helps me. But then I have to work around the day. Oh, I call them personal assistants. They kind of work around me, luckily enough, so that I can have my day um, like as normal.
Tears.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, try and make sure I get. I have a medical. I'm very lucky. I have a medical detection dog, and she's really helped my parts. So I have to take her out. So even if that's the only thing that I do for that day, then I've also done something. So, but just getting out for a bit, and if I have an event during the day, then I won't do anything during the evening, or vice versa. If I have an event in the evening, there's no way that I can physically be doing anything during the day. And as most of us know, you have a particularly long day, there's nothing that's going to be booked in for the next 3 days, and you just suffer the feeling unwell, feeling like you're going to be ill, um, and sort of lots of planning. So planning days out, and if I do plan days out, where I can sit, where I can rest, and like even getting my friends and family to be like, well, okay, I can't join you on this half of the day, but I will join you later, so that I get something out. And actually, for me, having a lots of alone time. I don't mind going out, and I love going out, but I need to be at home by myself, and I need to sort of like be chilled out, because otherwise it does affect me mentally and physically. Challenges. So me, I am probably the biggest challenge. It's learning to pace yourself, and I hate that word, and I know I should do it. But I do have a bit of FOMO, fear of missing out. So that helps me because I'll be stubborn enough to go out, but it doesn't help me in another sense, because I could be trying to come out on a day that I really should be resting. Um, Having to go to medical appointments, that's a challenge, because again, you've got your day planned out. If you've got a medical appointment, you've got to think about getting there. You've got to think about having the appointment, which is emotionally and physically stressful, and you've got to think about getting home. And then you've still got other bits to do during your day, so that's a challenge. Um, the fatigue, not even wanting to think about the day ahead or the next day. So just sort of getting your head around that. I now learn to put off things for another day. If I can't do it, I can't do it, because I'm not going to be productive if I feel tired. Um, Being in a world that's not adapted, and especially to people with illnesses that are invisible. So we all know, just going out and wanting to sit down in the queue, we can't do that, because there's not going to be a seat provided in the queue. Getting at the bus stop, well, you look physically well, so no, at the bus stop, no one's going to offer you a seat on the bus. So all of those kind of things. Other people's perceptions, which links into what I've just said. You don't look well, you're young. I want to put a bit of makeup on the days that I'm out. So, and just other people's perceptions about how unwell you are, whether that's friends, family, um, and also even going back to getting the carers in, adapting my daily life. But it took a challenge to try and get those PAs, carers in, and to say that I need more than half an hour for certain things. So, and adapting plans when things don't always go to plan. So again, I want to go out, but when things all that don't want to go to plan, it's not always going to work out for me, and I don't want to think of plan B and plan C. So that does the challenges I face. I know there's many, many more, but yeah, that's me on that one. Thank you.
Thanks, Louise. How have your relationships changed since your diagnosis, and how do you deal with people who don't understand your illness?
I'm gonna laugh at the don't understand don't bit, but right, relationships. So I'll start with my mum. 6 months before my POTS got worse 10 years ago, she'd moved away to the seaside, as did my brother. So that I resented her. We had a really rocky time, so I'm really being open and honest here. She knows, like, I've been honest with her, but she didn't know what to do. She's older now. Getting back to come and see me was a problem. She she tries, but it was very much like, "Oh, Louise, cheer up today." "Oh, I don't want to cheer up, Mum." Or, "Oh, I want to go around the shops. Come," and dragging me around the shops. I'm like, "No, I need to stop." And she just didn't get it. And I also think as a mum, to have her daughter go back years and not that I was dependent on her, but she would have put herself in my position. So I kind of get where she's coming from. But through communication, I probably got the best relationship with my mum than I ever have. So it did work out, but having my friends looked after me puts sort of spanner in the works, if that makes sense. Friends, I initially rubbed my friends up the wrong way. They really got frustrated with me, and I kind of thought, well, I can't help it. I can't help what's going on. I can't help the disease I have. And my point was, and they kept saying, be honest with me, be honest with us. And I kept thinking, I want to go out, I'm going to go out. And me going out would kind of jeopardize their day. And the toughest thing that I thought to myself is being honest, because I'm going to have to let you down time and time again. So I started being honest. And again, that's built our relationship. So a lot of my friends are not from the chronic illness world. And I'm very lucky to still have them around. But all they needed from me was, if I can't make it that day, I can't make it that day. And there was no pressure. And I think the pressure I put on was myself to be normal. And I will have a tendency to do that. And I think I always will. So, yeah. And also kind of believing in me. And because I didn't know what was happening. So my friends didn't know what was happening. And I also think they probably thought, is it psychological? I get that tendency. But then I also believe, like, you have friends with different parts of your personality, even before I got ill. So through this, I have a great chronic illness via the social media friends, and I still call them. I may not see them, but I still call them. So in some sense, I can offload to the people that actually know what's going on. And I do still offload a bit to my friends, but I don't need to go into detail, and I can enjoy just being Louise with my friends. So yeah, so that's that. People that don't understand. After 20 odd years, you develop some saying, shall we say. So it depends on the mood I'm in as to what. So I've because I work in a hospital that I go to for regular appointments, I sometimes see the people that I used to work with or go to university with. Oh, you look well, Louise. I'm like, okay. What you're doing, you must be really bored at home. So I set on telling them exactly what I do and exactly what my week's like and exactly how much rest I need. And actually, I do a lot more for people that know me are like, considering all your illnesses, you do a hell of a lot more. Um, People don't say that you don't look ill. I say to them, well, I wouldn't be out if I was ill. However, I also kind of realise these might be the people that are um, don't really want to know what's going on. I don't really want to get into that conversation. So I've learned, well, I'm going to leave them to the side. Um, and also people that say, oh, you don't look ill. And I haven't just yet, but in the back of my mind, I want to say, you don't look like an idiot either. But there we go. So but that is just what my mind's going. I think I'm polite enough not to say that, but I'm just like, and because I have um my medical detection dog, I'm a beacon for people asking me what's going on. So actually, at that point, I use it to educate them about POTS. So briefly, it's somewhere that they'd understand. And usually, when a sentence or two in a conversation, they're away. Finally, the healthcare professionals, the ones that don't want to listen, shall we say. So I've got two comparisons here. I had a procedure under the NHS that was in a private healthcare, and I ended up having to stay the night because with POTS and not having enough fluids, that happened to it. Well, I kept getting up to the toilet and kept passing out. So they kept buzzing the emergency buzzer, and the same doctor kept coming. By the third time, she came to me and she went, Louise, what's wrong? What is this with your anxiety? And I felt the blood rise, and I went, how dare you? I went, what do you know about POTS? And she stopped. I went, I find it strange that I'm anxious about standing up because as I sit down, my heart rate's gone back to normal. And it stopped her in her tracks, but it got to that point where I'm like, no, 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 no. Oh, way down the line, I know what's going on. Alternatively, and this is about listening. and I had kidney cancer, so I had to have my kidney taken out and went to hospital I've never been to. And literally within a day, I went to the anaesthetist. I said, "You just got to listen to me. I'm going to be a bit slower, but if you do, I'm not going to hit the deck. I'm going to be out quicker than you perhaps expect, a little bit longer than your average patient." Oh my God, I got the anaesthetist saying, "Right, we're going to give you a total block because you're EDS. We're going to give you this because you're a mast cell." I was so shocked, and I was only a day later than everyone else, and I was out there. So I do try and get the word across and get people to listen. So yeah, sorry, hopefully I've not gone on too long then. Okay.
No, you haven't at
Yeah.
all. Thank you, Louise. How has your chronic illness affected your sense of identity, and how have you come to accept your condition?
So, like, as I've mentioned before, my job as a sister was my identity, which is why I stayed on longer to think, well, what's my purpose? I've got like double my life ahead of me, and it's going to be extremely boring. Um, I used to like it's just things like I used to go off traveling on a plane by myself. Didn't think about it because I'd traveled to Australia and just did everything by myself. So like I got the nickname Miss Independent. That wasn't gonna sort of like happen now. Do you know what I mean? And I'm used to helping people and being there for other people. Not I don't mind it, but I felt a bit awful like when the roles were reversed and everyone had to be there for me. I'm not used to it. I didn't like it. Like I kind of felt useless, not worthy, a bit of a burden as well. So and again, way down the line, I still pay and have a bit of counselling because I just think, you know, I've got to, I've got to find my identity. I kind of know it, but I have got to find my identity because I'm not just a chronic illness, but all of that, yeah, it's chipped away over the years. Um, Acceptance. Now, it's not easy, but it's the best thing I've ever done. But before the acceptance, I had to go through the grief. I had to be like, well, I can't do that. You know, my mind sometimes thinks I can, but the body is not going to comply. Um, I kind of carry the illness with me rather than fight against it because as soon as you fight against it, you're on a losing battle. It's part of you, it's not you. Um, and I realise that us as a community and not like I don't take things for granted like I would. A normal person, I use the word normal, but they do take for things for granted. We don't anymore. And I do see that as good, actually. And accepting AIDS, I was very, very stubborn at my age. Accepting AIDS gives you the freedom and it helps you accept your condition. Jazz them up, do what you like. But yeah, and finally, for me, to accept my condition, I've got certificates, I've been to uni in my life. Nothing compares to the achievement of getting through this daily and coming out being the person that I am. I appreciate the person I am. So, you know, no amount of certificates can beat that. So yeah, so that's yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Thanks.
that.
So this question follows on really nicely, actually. Have you found any positives or personal growth throughout this time? And what advice would you give to somebody who was at the start of their journey?
Right, I am, and you know, again, I haven't had it perfectly, and I don't seem too trick happy, but yes, unbelievably, yes, I never wanted to be ill. But I wouldn't change it. I definitely wouldn't change it. And I had to go for pain management for my jaw. And you speak to a psychologist, and she went to me. I told her everything. She went, you've had PT, and I'm thinking not PTSD. She went, no, personal growth. I was like, okay, because I've become a better version of myself because I can't afford to worry about things. There's certain things that I know that are going to make me ill. So even my friends have commented, I'm so much more relaxed and I've said yes to opportunities I would never have a chance to if I was working. This is why I'm here. I'm not particularly, I talk, but I'm not particularly, you know, it's a scary like, knowing that you guys are there. Um, Knowing that our own bodies now, I know my own body and being able to challenge healthcare professionals. So, yes, so I am happy. I'm probably the happiest I have been. Advice, so we'll end on something nice. It's not an easy journey. and definitely a roller coaster. And if you can do this journey, you can do anything. My advice would be grieve your past life. It's hard to do, but it will be really freeing once you've done it, and you can get enjoyment out of your new life. Be honest with yourself and be honest with others and let them in. Because if you don't let them in, they don't know. Like a friend said to me the other day, I weren't going to ask for something. She's like, but someone's not psychic. They're not. Okay. Don't be afraid to accept any of your aids, anything that's going to help you live your best life. Jazz it up, make it personal to you. Savor the good moments. It doesn't have to be anything big. It has to just getting out because we are slightly different from the norm. But praise yourself and give yourself the confidence. My final, but the most important thing to remember is to be you. There's still a beautiful, kind, and funny individual who's worthy of respect and love and equality. So just you're not an illness, you are you, and just remember that. So yeah.
Oh, Louise, that's a lovely sentiment. Thank you. So now we're going to move on to the question and answer section of the webinar. For the first question, we've had it actually submitted beforehand. And some of this might have been answered, but I'll go back through it, Louise, and then we can pick up
Yeah.
anything that you haven't already spoke about. So it's, how do you explain a chronic hidden disability to friends, family, medical staff, acquaintances, especially with the brain fog and fatigue? There is an exception that you look okay, so must be there's an expectation that you look okay, so you must be feeling okay, with no acknowledgement of what you have to cope with to do daily activities. And also the constant asking if you're feeling better when you're not going to get better, you just have to manage the condition.
Yeah, yeah. That's a lovely question, and you're totally right. I find that sort of like whoever you speak to, you kind of keep it short and sweet. So I say, I've got a condition called POTS. My body, so everything you do automatically without thinking about it, my body doesn't. Specifically, my heart rate. Um, so yeah, with a long-term condition, so that is my start off. And it's a case of yes, I am going to have better days, and I am going to have bad days, but there's not a cure. And sometimes compare it against some sort of like disease they know, like multiple sclerosis, or something that they've seen, because like sometimes people don't get POS, and if they know, or someone that they know that's got it, um, and yeah, and I could have said it in there, but say to them that on a good day, I want to make myself feel good, but I'm going to pay for it on a bad day. And spoon theory, give any of the sort of like little theories that actually, because for me, I'm a visual person. So you gave me the spoon theory, and I'm like, oh God, can you imagine that by 5 spoons, you haven't even started your day, but that's the sort of energy that you've got to waste. And I would lay that over whoever you speak to.
Could you just
So
give a brief rundown of the spoon theory, just in case anyone isn't
So the
aware of
spoon theory, yep, good
it?
point,
Thank
Nikki,
you.
thank you. So the spoon theory, say you were given 12 spoons during a day. So each spoon is for a task you do. So for instance, you wake up, you have a shower, that's a spoon gone. You make your breakfast, that's a spoon gone. You take the kids to school on a school run, that's a spoon gone. But even like the dry, the getting the dress, that's a spoon gone. You could use up 6, 7 of your spoons before you've even started the morning. So what do you do with the other 5 or 6 of them? You've got to last that the whole day. And then you try and get spoons from the next day so that then you're still short. So you're always going to be running short of them.
Yeah,
And that explains your fatigue. That explains the reason that you can't do everything that everyone else doesn't do. Like everyone else does do without thinking about it. Hope
brilliant. Thank you. That was a really good explanation there. That really was. Okay, I think that's that question answered. Um, got another question. How did you cope with the medical gaslighting? Did anything or anyone help you persevere and advocate for yourself?
Wow, this is some great questions here. Yeah, in the beginning, I didn't cope very well at all. Like I say, I hid everything. I just made up reasons. I would go home crying. Many a times, I would be so frustrated. I'd be in tears in front of them. I'd be in tears crying. I got misdiagnosed initially with FND, But a friend that I work with, actually, two of my friends have come out with POTS, Marcel and that I've worked with. Her daughter had similar symptoms, and she was a lot younger than me, and she ended up getting sort of diagnosed. And my friend was like, "Sure, that's you." So I went back to the consultant that misdiagnosed me with FND because I was waiting for 2 years for brain training, and I said to him, "Right, so where's the brain training?" I went on my friend's appointment, so I went along. I said, "I'm just going to see, just catching up." And he went, "Oh, can you describe your symptoms again?" That sounds like POTS. But I still didn't get diagnosed first of all on my first tilt table. It took my second tilt table. But the perseverance was knowing now that I possibly could have a diagnosis, and also being in the medical profession now. I was a respiratory sister, but I suddenly learnt to look like I know what I was talking about, and kind of, I call it manipulation. But just like with some people, that you kind of feed the idea without telling them, I give them the clues, then they think that they've thought about your diagnosis. I was like, oh, great. But it took me, out of the 20 years, it took me a good 10, 11 years to get over the medical gaslighting, and I won't have it now. I won't have it. If I believe I've got something, you will be listening to you.
Thanks, Louise. Thank you. We've got another question from Kate. I think some of this has been answered, but I'll read it anyway. And Kate's put, I hope that this isn't too personal of a question. Do you use any mobility aids, such as a rollator walking stick with a fold away seat? And if so, have you dealt with any feelings of being an imposter, given that POTS isn't an obvious visible disability?
And it isn't. No, I'm quite happy to answer personal questions, because if people hadn't done this for me, I wouldn't be here. Yeah, in the initial stages before I got my dog, I started off with a rollator frame, going back to work, sort of like more admin duties. And I did, because I'm like, I can walk. And people look at me as if to just be like, oh, but when I left it at the side to walk up and down, oh, you can walk. Oh, yes. It was just for me to sit down. So yeah, you do. And I had, before I got flooded out of my flat, I had a motorised wheelchair, because when I left, I got ill health retired. You get a certain sum of money, so I thought I'm going to use that. And it was, I felt imposter, because I go on a day out and I'm like, it's going to look really strange if I get out of this chair now. They're going to, but why not? Why not? And actually, it was more my, again, I stopped using word, more my non-disabled friends that were like, well, why are you worrying about that? So yeah, I do worry about what it looks like. So I've done rollator frames. I haven't done stick or canes, because I am a fainter, and that we worked out rollator frame or wheelchair. I still have a wheelchair in my little shed in case I ever need it on long days, just in case. But I worked out that I need someone to push me. It's just a manual one. I haven't got the strength to do a you know,
Yeah.
self-prepare this one.
Mhm.
Brain fog, sorry. So yeah, yeah. And please don't be afraid. I've learnt that, but it's taken me a long time to learn it. It's you. It's gonna give you a good day. Like, as soon as I got into a wheelchair, I went out and I raced with my friends' kids. We did it. We were at a farm, and they all got onto there's different methods of transport. They're like, "Come on, Lou." So I was in there, right? It's just things like that, and I had a lovely day, and I was included. So yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. We've got another question. Had you met patients with POTS symptoms before your own diagnosis?
Like I say, only my friend's daughter that we didn't know was POTS symptoms. I probably, if I look back at it, there's a few patients that I nursed that probably would, and their treatment, like, I did try and advocate for them. I wasn't thinking POTS at that point, but the treatment they've been given by the doctors was horrendous. Do you know what I mean? Very gaslighting, very much like, well, you're putting it on, you can go home. So, um, no, I didn't know of a lot of people, because we're talking 20 odd years ago, so it wasn't very well spoken about.
Okay, brilliant. There's just one more comment in the question box from Leslie, and she just put, a lot of this has really charmed with me. Thank you for sharing your insights with us, Louise.
Oh, thank you, Leslie. No, thank you to everyone that turned up. If I've helped someone or just given someone an idea, it's not nice, but you just right people around you. You'll get there. It's just, how long's a piece of string at the moment, unfortunately.
That's all the questions that have been asked. If anyone's got any more they want to pop in the next couple of seconds, that would be great. If you leave this webinar and you think, oh, actually, I have got a question, and just, it might come to you afterwards, you've thought about it. I've popped our email address, inquiries@potsuk.org, into the chat. And if you just email there and let us know that your question is for Louise, Louise is happy for us to pass that on to her, answer it, and then we'll pass it back to you over email. So that's absolutely fine. Oh, we've had another couple of questions. One from Natalie's asked, how did you manage to gain confidence to walk around without an aid once you got your medical detection dog?
Right, so what my medical detection dog does is she's been trained on my scent. So when you're ill or anything, us POTS people give off a scent just before we're about to pre-syncope, pre-faint. Um, so she gives me a 3 to 7 minute warning before that faint looks likely, or before my heart rate's going to go too high. So it means that I will, so I wasn't brave enough. I'll sit in the middle of the supermarket, I'll sit on the ground, I will stop what I'm doing. And some people will still faint, but it's actually, with time, I've had her for about 6 years, it negates the fainting. So it means that, and also she stops me from rushing about. She's the boss, and I've got my whole trust in her. So that's why the days that there's times that I haven't had her, I can honestly say there's a bit at the back of my mind saying, oh, how are you feeling now? Please don't faint, please don't faint. So I'd say it's because I know that she knows she's going to give me a lot of warning before that's going to happen. But I get what you mean about the confidence of trying to walk. I mean, the amount of times I passed out. Before I got her, I used to pass out at the most twice a day, at the very least twice a week. So that kind of, I don't pass out, touch wood, at all now. So yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. Susanna's asked, have you been able to get PIP for your POTS?
Yes, I have. I have multiple, like beyond the MCAS and that, multiple conditions. But it kind of helped that I perhaps passed out at my PIP assessment. So, and then sat up and passed out again. So I think she got the message at that point. And it's ongoing. So my last assessment was about 2017. So yeah.
Okay. Katrina's asked, how do you balance the need to recover with the need to do things? I always worry I'm spending too much time resting, but every time I try to do things and I feel rubbish, I always worry I'm getting the balance wrong.
Wow. That is a very hard question. Yeah, yeah, you're always going to worry. And actually, Sean, one of our volunteers, did one about exercise. It's little and often. I learned when I was stuck in hospital for 6 weeks and I could only sort of sit up and still faint, that it was a case of, okay, in an hour or so, I'll sit up a little bit more. It's very slow until your body doesn't realize you're doing it, if that makes sense to you. So yes, lay down, but then sit up for a little bit, or dangle your legs over the side of wherever you're sitting, just so that your body's getting used to it, but you have the safety of, of your bed or the sofa. Yeah, because I know we get told about deconditioning so much, but I don't know if you're ever going to get the balance right, but just very little and often is what I'd say, if that has helped in any way, shape, or form.
Thank you. Oh, got another one. Oh, Louise, thank you so much for taking the time to share your journey. It's been really validating for me to hear you talk about your experiences, as this can be such an isolating condition, and it's good to know I'm not alone in this.
And that is such a good word, though, validating. We do, and I still feel like I need it as much as I feel a lot stronger. But it is the validation that it's okay to feel ill and POTS is real. So, no, thank you very much for that compliment.
Emma's also put, thank you, Louise. It's great to hear other people's stories and make us feel less alone and more part of a community.
Yeah, but that's the whole reason. That's why I'm with POTS UK, because I'm just like, I know the feeling, and if today helps people, then I'm very happy.
Brilliant. I think that's most of all the questions now. So thank you, Louise, firstly, for that sharing your experience with us. We really, really appreciate it. And thank you everybody for coming. When this session ends, there'll be a link to click to complete a survey. If you could just spend any time, just filling that in for us would be so appreciated, just so we can get some feedback about how to keep these webinars going. I've also shared a link in the chat about our other webinars hosted by some of our volunteers that we've got coming up, but you'll also get an email after this webinar with all that information in it. And you'll also get sent a recording of this webinar so you can watch it again if you'd like. So thank you, Louise, and thank you everyone for coming. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day, afternoon. Bye.
Bye.